Today I'm going to teach you the chords to a really cool, lesser-known tune that elevates that typical 1-6-4-5 chord progression that is so common in doo-wop and lots of ballads really, to a whole new level. Whether you know this song or not, you are going to learn a lot from it. So this is to teach you songwriting, to what's behind these chords. How do you elevate a simple chord progression and add some more sophistication and spice to it? The song is called Til Then. It was done by a huge variety of groups in the 50s and 60s, from the Hilltoppers, the Mills Brothers, the Classics, Sonny and the Orioles, Les Brown Orchestra. There's a bunch of others, I think, like Sammy Davis Jr. I'm trying to remember. Ruby and the Romantics. Back in that era, it was very common for just a song to be done by a ton of different people. I mean, we have cover songs too, but back then there was a period of time, like in the, I don't know when it stopped, in the 40s and early 50s, where like it was the song that was more important than which group did it. And then once like rock stardom got introduced to it, Elvis and the Beatles, and my timeline might be off there with when it started shifting to that like idolization, it became more about which artist was doing it. But there's a bunch of great versions. I really suggest you go check some of those out. Some of my favorites are the Hilltoppers and the Classics, and all of them are good actually. And when you do these different versions, there were obviously arrangers behind this. Most people back in those days seemed to have like jazz arrangement skills, or the people that were putting these versions together. So of course there's going to be some minor chord variations. And I'm a person who likes to listen to a lot of versions and cherry pick which chords I like the best from which version. So they're all essentially the same, but there are some slight variations. So anyway, let me play just a little bit of it for you so you can hear how it sounds. It has an old-time doo-woppy feel. I like the sentiment of it. It seems like it's probably a guy going off to war and it doesn't know if he's going to see his girl again, that type of thing. And I know it's been done 1,000 times, but that kind of thing can be really powerful. And most of these versions have a significant amount of background vocals, like doo-wop, so you're going to have to like use your imagination here when I just play the chords and sing the melody. There's some really cool background vocals, so highly suggest you go listen to a version or two of this, and here's in general how the song sounds. Let me play you like a verse or two, and then we'll talk about some more, and then I'm going to get into analyzing what makes this chord change an elevated doo-wop progression. It starts off with just a 1-6-2-5 in F. There'd probably be some fancy ending, and you can do whatever you want. Pretty simple song, just does the verse, then there's a bridge, and it goes back to the verse. But what I want to get into is the chords itself and what makes it cool. For those of you who are really getting a lot out of my lessons, here is how you can help me out. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and that the notification bell is set to all notifications for my channel. You can watch more of my videos by browsing through the playlist section of my channel to find the videos that most interest you. But the very best way you can help me is to subscribe to my Patreon music school called High Castle Conservatory. Lastly, please consider buying my original music projects I.S.S. and High Castle Tele Orchestra on Bandcamp. You can find the details and links in the description below. Now let's get back to that lesson. So I've talked about in my other videos that, 1625 or 1645 are interchangeable, and those are the doo-wop chord progressions. If we're in F, which we're going to be in this song, F is 1, D minor is 6, B flat is 4, and C or C7 is 5. But I've said this before, it's a rule that 4 and 2 of a key are interchangeable. So anytime you have that chord progression in one of your songs, you could be like, oh, I have 1645, and you'd be like, oh, do I like 1625? The melodies all work over each other. So don't forget that rule. 2 and 4 are interchangeable. You can use them at will in your songs, that anytime a 1625 works, a 1645 will also work over that melody. I absolutely love doo-wop. I have thousands of 50s and early 60s tracks in my music collection that I adore. Some of it does get a little boring with the chord progression. So, I'm not going to say the Beach Boys were the first one to come along and spice up those chord progressions, but you can listen to some of my chord analysis videos of some of their songs. I mean, check out The Warmth of the Sun. Or Girls on the Beach. I have a video on that one. There is a bunch of songs that the Beach Boys did that kind of almost trick the ear. Even Surfer Girl is, it starts with 1645, but then it goes to 1, makes it a major 7. We're in D, by the way, D7. Then it goes to 4 minor. It has, and those chord progressions were all over like the Disney stuff, When You Wish Upon a Star. So Brian Wilson did not make those up, but he was one of the first people to really integrate them into the popular songs. So this song is definitely based on that, and then it just does some really cool elevations. So let's dive right into it. We got an intro, which I'm going to call this in 12/8. You could call this 6/8. It's that typical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The reason I really like 12/8 is because it takes up less bars. 6/8 would literally be twice as much real estate on the page, so that's not a great reason if you're trying to do a feel. But you could also count this in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could have written this in 4/4. I'm going to call it in 12/8. So the intro is just some kind of 1625, and most of them have some kind of vocal arrangement or something. Just the voicings I'm using real quick. So we're in F, so that's A, C, F, and then it's a D minor 7, so I don't have to change anything there. Look, and we have all the notes of D minor 7 above that D. The only thing I change is the bass note. There's D minor 7. Now G minor 7, we have G down in the bass, but the notes of minor 7 there and C7 there. So, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. There's a ton of options, so I'm not going to get too into that here. You can work on that on your own time. I just want to get into the songwriting and what is this song all about. So the intro, 1625. Then the first verse. Till then, my darling, please wait for me. Till then. So the verse also starts with 1625, as you can see right there. And on that C7 on the verse, it actually does this leading note. Verse, you can hear it goes, till then, which I could call that a C7 sharp 5. The leading note is like, turns that C into an augmented, or a C7 sharp 5. So I could have said C7, C7 sharp 5. It's pretty obvious from the melody that it's using it as sort of a passing tone. But sometimes it doesn't sound so great for all the chord people to be accenting that. In this case, I just like that the vocal melody kind of hits it. So it's definitely implying, a dominant chord can handle a million different tensions and dissonances and all kinds of stuff. And sharp 5 is definitely right in the wheelhouse of a dominant chord to take that C7 and just sharp the 5. You hear that sound a lot. That like that's me taking a 6 dominant F to D7. So there's sharp 5, 2, 5. So anyway, it goes one. The verse goes 1, 6, 2, 5, and on that 5, the vocal melody turns it to a sharp 5 or an augmented chord, but it just leads it to go back to another 1, 6. So the verse, till then, my darling, please wait for me, right here. Till then, no matter when it will be, one day when I will hold you again, please wait. Whoops. Anyway, so what happened there? Verse 1, 6, 2, 5, and on that C7, the vocal note hits a G sharp and goes back to 1, 6. Then it does that secondary 2, 5. You see E minor 7 flat 5, and as I said before, a minor 7 flat 5 is the 2 of a minor key, and A7 is the 5. So in this case, what we're doing is 2, 5 of 6. What does that mean? Well, we're in F, and 6 is D minor, so 2, 5 in that minor key of 6 would be E minor 7 flat 5 to A7. And then a lot of times that would resolve to D minor, but not in this case. It resolves to B flat, which shares a couple notes of D minor, but it's not that typical resolution that you come to expect, this kind of thing. Instead, it's up a half step. So from that first verse, once again, it goes 1, 6, 2, 5, then 1, 6, and then it does a 2, 5 of that 6, which we were just on, and then goes to 4. You could call that sharp 4, diminished 7, or just a 4 dominant. We'll go over that in a second here. So let's show you what that looks like. Till then, my darling, please wait for me. Till then, no matter when it will be, one day when I will hold you again, please wait. Till then, our dreams will live while we are apart. So anyway, we had once again in the verse 1, 6, 2, 5, couldn't be easier. And on that 5, it does a little passing G sharp, making that C7 a sharp 5 temporarily, or augmented. Back to F, 1, 6. Now a 2, 5 of that 6. You know, I voiced it like... And then it goes to 4. Instead of resolving, it's always nice when a dominant chord does not resolve up a 4th. That's the expectation of the ear, at least in Western music, and we see that all the time, but it's a very refreshing thing to not always do it. So E minor 7, flat 5 to A7, then we go up to 4, which is B flat 6. A lot of you are going to leave me comments not liking that I called this B flat 7 flat 9 over C flat. Why don't we just call it a C flat diminished 7 chord? So C flat, we're calling it C flat just because it's like a sharp 4. We don't want to call it B natural. It's just a spelling thing or an enharmonic thing. No big deal if you called it B diminished 7. But the best way to write it would have probably been B flat 6, then C flat diminished 7, then to F over C, then to D7. The reason I didn't call it that is because diminished 7 chords are honestly very similar to dominant chords. So let me give you an example. If I play this, this diminished 7 chord from B, check this out. If I put B flat in the bass, that's all that is look, a B flat 7 flat 9. So there's the flat 9, there's the 3, there's the 5, there's the dominant 7. You could also go up by minor thirds. It's also a C sharp 7 flat 9. It's also an E7 flat 9. So if you find it useful that it has some sort of function in a key, I like to call it instead of just calling it a diminished 7 chord, I like to call it dominant 7 flat 9 and then show what the bass note is. So that's all I did here. You could call this a C flat diminished 7th, no big deal. I just wanted to show you that this B flat 6 is pretty similar. It's kind of hanging out on the 4. And that's a chord progression we've heard in like ragtime music, right? Right? We've all heard that before. So really what it's doing after this 2-5 of 6 is it goes to 4 and then climb up to that diminished 7 chord or the B flat 7 flat 9 over C flat. Then it goes to 1, but with C in the bass. You know, you're kind of painted into a corner with that chromatic bass line, right? And I will note also that B flat, adding a 6 turns it kind of ambiguous. It's definitely major, but it's not major 7, it's not dominant 7. You know, a B flat 6 has all the same notes of G minor 7, right? Bass note is the only thing that defines it. So whenever you add a 6 to a major chord, it's like turning it major and minor at the same time, because all the notes of B flat major are in there, and all the notes of G minor and G minor 7 are in there. So it's just a way to make a major chord fancier. And they used it a lot in the 40s and 50s. Semi-famous jazz instructor Ray Brown that I used to take some jazz arranging classes from used to tell us that when 1 is in the melody, that you can use a major 6 chord, because major 7 doesn't work very well with if I'm in B on a B flat chord. There's B flat in the melody. It doesn't. I mean, unless you want that tension. But so what you do is you drop down to that 6, and then you're not creating that tension. But so we do the 2-5 in of 6, now 4, and then just F over C, now 6 dominant, which is like also a 5 of 2 dominant. Remember, regular 2 is G minor, but very common to do 2 dominant. I would say 2 dominant is one of the most common non-diatonic chords you're ever going to find. It is absolutely all over the place, and you can use it almost interchangeably depending on what the melody's doing. So the difference in this case would be it's a G7, and you know, jazz people are going to probably add a 9 or a 13. So in this case, it does on the first ending, it goes to 2 dominant and then to 5, and then returns to the verse and go 1. It's like a 2-5-1, but the 2 is dominant. So let's play that whole first verse and then take the repeat. Till then, my darling, please wait for me. Till then, no matter when it will be, one day, when I will hold you again, please wait. Till then, repeat. Our dreams will live while we are apart. Our love I'll always keep in my heart. One day, when all the world could be free, so wait for me. But very typical of first endings are to do kind of a longer thing on the first ending and don't resolve to the key that you're in. See, we're to do a long G7 on that first ending. Till then, and then we resolve, take the repeat back to F. But on a second ending, it's very typical to speed up that resolution and actually get to the key you're in so that you can move somewhere else. So in this case, first ending would be wait till then, our dreams. But a second ending would be wait till then. Go somewhere else to a bridge. That's usually how first and second endings work. So quicker to the resolution on a second ending is pretty typical. What ends up happening on that second ending is we resolve fully to the key we're in, which is F, and then it goes down a half step to E7. Remember we talked about secondary dominants? That's secondary dominant of A minor, which is the 3 of F major. So I could say we're in A minor for this bridge, and we pretty much are, but I'm not forgetting that that's the 3rd degree of F. So I'm still notating it here as basically just being some degree of F, which in this case it's the 3rd degree. So yeah, it basically takes us to A minor, but my analysis is going to be like as if we're still in F major. We could completely just say we were in A minor here, but I'm just keeping the whole thing in that framework of F. Let's just understand we've modulated to the 3 of F, which is A minor. So let's take it from... When all the world could be free, so wait for me. Although there are oceans we must cross and mountains that we must climb, I know that every game must have a loss. So pray that our loss is nothing but time. Till then, let's dream of what there will be. The last verse. So that bridge, it goes to A minor, and in A minor it goes 1, 2, 5, but you could say we're still in F, so that's what I'm calling it. We're still in F, and doing 3, and then doing a 2, 5 of 3. 3, 1 dominant, F7 to E7, but in the key of A minor, we all know that that's flat 6 to 5 in A minor. All just depends what you want to think of it as, but I'm just keeping it all in that framework of F. I know I keep saying that, but then the second line of the bridge, know that every game must have a law, so pray that our loss is nothing but time. Till then. So all it does to get back on that second line, it does another, 2, 5 of 3. Hangs out on that A minor, and it just climbs down a half step to G minor, 2, 5 of F in last verse. So you probably heard me do that fancy thing where I did, well, it's not that fancy, but I was on A minor there, and I climbed down and did an A flat minor 7. It's not written there, but anytime you have minor chords or minor 7 chords a whole step apart, you can climb down by inserting like a half step, like A flat minor 7. So if I go from this second line, you'll hear me insert that A flat minor 7, and I'm just doing that in an improvisatory way, and I'm not a great jazz pianist or anything like that, but I've heard it enough times where they'll just add this stuff in. I know every game must have a loss, so pray that our loss is nothing but time. Till then, let's dream of what there will be. Till then, we'll call on each. So yeah, we just end up back in the verse, and some versions of the song go back into another bridge and then a last verse, and you're welcome to do that. You could also go from the bridge and into someone soloing over the verse and kind of just repeat that and then sing another verse and do or after the solo you could do a bridge and then the last verse. These kind of songs are really modular. You can just kind of take the standard form and add what you want to them. So I'm just going to the bridge and then the last verse, but this is just the really simple form. Like I said, some of these versions that I mentioned before do an extra bridge and then an extra last verse. Oh, the other thing is going out of the second ending. Some of these versions, it goes to the F major and does this E7 on beat 4, but on some versions it just goes F to E. Some versions goes F, 2, 3, 4. Man, more coffee. So you could see this is a fairly typical, like I said, 1-6-2-5 chord progression. Sounds kind of doo-wop-y, sounds very 50s, but it really has a nice little spice. And like I said, you would hear these things in ragtime and things like that. But as far as just in pop music, there's less of them. If you're looking at like instrumental and big band music, yeah, this stuff is all over the place. Different chord extensions and different ways to change keys and things like that. But in the pop songs, it's not quite as common as in the instrumental or the Dixieland jazz big band type of stuff. Please explore more videos on my channel. You can check out the playlist page and it'll show you the topics that you might be most interested in, but I have a ton of Beach Boys chord analysis and some really advanced songs and chord progression analysis that I feel like songwriters can learn from and learn how to incorporate some of those more advanced chord progressions into their own songs. So this is a great example. You might have just had the 1-6-2-5 and said, how do I elevate it? Till then, let's dream of what there will be. Till then, we'll call on each memory one day, when I will hold you again. Please wait till then. You'll see right there that the G minor 7 to C7 to F, they probably expand that on some of these versions and make those a whole bar each. Sometimes it's a G minor 7, sometimes it's a G7. Here I just put G minor 7, but when you get to the end, you could... When I will hold you again, make these twice as long. Please wait till then. So that chord, if you're wondering what that was, when I was doing G minor 7, this one, all that is a C7, but it's a 13. 13 is just 6. We have 7 down here and flat 9. There's 3. So the voicing is C on the bottom. There's 7, flat 9, 3, and 13. Great voicing. So if I play G minor, there's G minor 9, C13, flat 9. And the last chord I did was F6-9. Pretty common back then. This song stays in the same key of F. I'm not calling any of these things that happen key changes because they're all secondary dominants or secondary 2/5s. Now, what do I mean by that? I hope I'm not losing you if you're more on the beginner songwriter page. Most of you will know what I mean. But if we're in F, let's just play the chords of F. We have F, G minor is the 2nd degree, A minor is the 3rd degree, B flat is the 4th, C or C7 is the 5th, D minor, and then finally is the 6th, and then E diminished triad is the 7th, and we're back to 1. So basically, you could take anything except F, let's say G minor, and then you do a dominant chord that leads to that. So the dominant, always wants to resolve from a 4th below. So if we're in G minor, which is the 2 of F minor, the dominant chord that would lead to that is not diatonic to F, but listen, you've all heard this sound before. If we're in F, I go D7, G minor. It's like a 6 dominant is what you would call it. So it's not diatonic, meaning it's not every note is in F major, but it leads to G minor. So you could make an exercise where you take every single degree of F major and just do its dominant that's a 4th below it. So let's go start on F, and we're trying to get to G minor. So I'm going to go to the dominant chord, a 4th below that G minor, and we have D7, G minor. Now we're trying to get to A minor, so I'm going to go to the dominant chord, a 4th below that, E7, A minor. We're going to B flat, so I'm going to the dominant chord, a 4th below that, which is F7, B flat. I'm going to C. So the dominant that's a 4th below that is G7, C, and so on and so forth. The other thing you are going to see is some 2/5s in here. And 2/5/1s are the most common chord progression in pop music and jazz. Jazz really does a thing of where it likes to elevate those 2/5s. Anyway, So what you'll see is instead of just the secondary dominant chord leading to it, you're going to see a full 2-5. So, I can't get into all the depth of 2-5s, but if we're in F, the diatonic 2-5-1 chord progression is 2, G minor, C is 5, F. Now, in the same way that we had secondary dominants that could lead to each degree, you could do not just a secondary dominant, but a secondary 2-5. And let's just remember something, that minor 2-5s and major 2-5s are slightly different. So if we're in F major, the regular 2-5 of major would just be a G minor 7 or G minor 7 to C7 to F. But if we're in minor, the 2-5, you have to go, so now we're in G, so we're still from the perspective of F major. We're in G, but if I want to do the 2-5 of G minor, then I would have to go up a whole step from G and do A. And since this is minor, not major, instead of a minor 7, we do a minor 7 flat 5 is the only real difference. In minor keys, the 2 chord is a minor 7 flat 5, and in major keys, it's a straight up minor 7 chord. So since G is minor in F, we're going to treat it like a minor 2-5. So we go up a whole step is the 2, then that secondary dominant D7, which is a fourth below G minor. So you can do that same exercise, F, G minor 7, C7, F7, that's the 2-5 in major. Then we have G minor, and we got to do the 2-5-1 in G minor. So that's A minor 7 flat 5, D7 to G minor. Then we're trying to get to A minor, so the 2-5-1 would be go up a whole step. B minor 7 flat 5 to E7, that's a minor 2-5, right? So we're doing the minor 7 flat 5. Then we're in B flat, that's major, so the 2-5 would be C minor 7, F7, B flat. So anyway, when we see these here, you're going to see me notate it like 2-5 of a certain scale degree. Like you see right here, E minor 7 flat 5 to A7, that's a 2-5 of 6 in F. Here's F. 6, the relative minor, is D minor. So this E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 is a 2-5 of the 6. So we never really truly change keys, although there's definitely some non-diatonic chords. Thanks a lot for watching this video and taking an interest in my channel. Please help me reach a larger audience by hitting subscribe below and ringing the notification bell. Check out my video playlist page to find the categories that most interest you. Leave me a super thanks here on YouTube, and even better, come join my Patreon. Please consider buying music for my original projects I.S.S. and High Castle Teleorchestra. Also, don't forget to sign up for my email list on the front page of timsmolens.com. You can find information about all of those things in the description below. Thanks again.